Hi everyone, welcome to Board Tanks with stewiejp. I'm Stewie, you're not, and either are. Most of these blokes, yes, that is me in this little tank. This is the brand new Tier 8 French premium tank, the ELC EVEN 90. The ELC EVEN 90, it might look like something that came out of Star Wars. Have a look at it, and of course it certainly does look like something that came out of Star Wars. Had the opportunity to sort of do a little bit of testing, I guess you would say, of this tank. And it certainly is. It certainly is a little cutie. If you like tanks that look like they belong in Tier 2 or 3, then this might be the tank for you. I'm going to show you two replays featuring me. I'm not going to do what I've normally done with new tanks and show new games from other players who are a hell of a lot better than me. I thought I'd give you a bit more of a noob perspective. I guess you could say. Some people would say I'm being generous in describing myself as an average player, and I think I could probably show you my perspective. I reckon I played 20 or 30 games in this tank, the ELC EVEN 90. This is two of them. Obviously, this is on Live Oaks, and weird stuff did happen in this game. Look at the minimap. Everybody is going town apart from the AT7 down the bottom. Now, I can't control that. I can't control what these people do. One thing I did realise in the ELC EVEN 90, one thing that I thought I would want to do is run strong coffee as a premium consumable, and that does affect the profitability of this tank, and we'll get to that later on. I have bought them in bulk when they were on 50% off, which is what I recommend everybody does with any premium consumable, even the standard ones, because you're basically getting two for the price of one. Anyway, the score's 1-0 on Live Oak, so I've done absolutely stuff all apart from spot the north. 4 enemy tanks on the north, the Batchat 12T, who's now run away, the IKV 90B, who, without giving too much away, I think he ends up being a little bit of my nemesis. I think I have spotted some of these tanks, but not all of them. Now, the ELC EVEN 90, brand new Tier 8 French premium light tank. We'll go through in this video who might like this tank, who would not like this tank, and of course my final thoughts towards the end, I guess. That's why I put a line through review. Not really big on doing reviews on tanks. It's definitely, every tank's got pros and cons, I guess. Now pros of this tank would have to be its size. Because it's so small, it is hard to hit, and you'll see in both games the enemy do have a little bit of trouble hitting me. Now, of course, another pro of this tank is it is a perfect fit for your Tier 10 French light tank crew. And in my opinion, having a premium tank which perfectly fits crews that you've already got is a big tick. That's a big score in the pro column, because in the past we've seen some tanks which don't perfectly fit crews that you might already had. I put a shot into the GW Panther. Now, I mentioned earlier about strong coffee. Of course, it's an auto loader, so of course an auto loader can take a long time to reload. I've spotted 3 artilleries, and there you go. I've picked myself up a kill there. Well done, Stewie. The reload time the clip reload time in this thing does seem a lot longer than it should, as well as the time between shots. And the only way to address that is to throw some vents on the tank and or run food. Now, I have got vents. You can see the equipment I'm using there is vertical stabilizer, optics, and vents, which is pretty much what I put on all my lights that can run vertical stabilizers, and which I guess they all can. Reason for the vertical stabilizer is it does seem to take a while to aim. Now, even with V-stabs and vents, and of course brothers in arms on all the crew members, it's very. It's still not as accurate as we would all like. Now, in both of these replays, I don't think I do fire any premium ammunition, and that might be why I bounced T25-2. But the T25-2 at Tier 7 is not known for his armour, so I didn't think I would need it. And the score's 6-2. Around about this stage of the game, I'll start thinking about my mission. No, I don't think I'm going to get that mission. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. The score's 6-2. You can see it's got a 90mm gun. That's where the name comes from. 220 damage, 175 penetration. That's with standard 215 with APCR rounds. As I mentioned, I'm running strong coffee to not only get the clip time down, but also to get the aim time, because you can see there the aim time does take a little while to get through. Now, I can see the GW Panther, he's going suspiciously close to the water there. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but I'll take him as my second kill. Now, it's well and truly looking like a pretty comfortable win on Live Oak. So we've picked up 1201 damage. Now, this tank has only got 900 hit points, which is probably okay. Look how small it is. It's tiny. real life, I guess, this tank would not have 90mm, 900. If hit points were a real thing, this tank wouldn't have many. Now, stupid Stewie here focuses tunnel visions on that T25-2, but get taken out by it. Totally ignored that IKV, who ended up getting me, which is unfortunate. 13-4 though, pretty confident this is going to be a win with the score on 13-4. You can see I ended up with 1,430 hit points in that game, and of course I think we can afford to speed it up quite well, because it's just going to be, we all know that is going to be a win. And like I mentioned earlier, not the best result in the world by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly not an ace tanker. It's not even a first class. But from my point of view, from a new perspective, I guess you could say, or the average player, or even the below average player, picked myself up a 5 for effect. So I did my shot, and one of those medals you get for killing artilleries. Ended up third by damage for the team. I'm comfortable with that in a tank that I'm not familiar with. I'm not haven't been playing it for a long time. Like I said, I think I played 20 or 30 games. 11 shots fired, 8 hits, 7 went through. That's a bit worse than I remember. In the next game, I think you're going to see something a little bit better. Nearly 77,000 credits after tax. That's with a premium account. But like I said, I'd already purchased the coffee, so I didn't get charged for the coffee. And there was a Christmas bonus in there, which is not showing on what replays, of a 48% extra. If you look there, 57,825 minus the cost. Doesn't matter what school you went to, doesn't add up to 76,846 credits. There was a bonus in there, which is not coming up on what replays, which is a little bit unfortunate. But sure, look, I certainly didn't take the world on fire with that one. But and surprised that I didn't get any assisted damage. That was something that I really sort of thought was a little bit weird in that game, because I did spot a number of tanks. This game's a little bit more fun, but unfortunately I don't actually have the result, because I exited out of this game before the battle ended. But anyway, let's have a look. Again, it's a tier 9 game. I did notice on this tank, is obviously in a light tank, when you're top tier, you do a little bit better. But I wanted to show you some normal games where you're going to be in a tier 9. The tier 10 games, I was purely trying to spot in this tank. And because the tank's so small, the camouflage rating, I'm imagining the camouflage rating of this tank is absolutely fantastic. Purely because of the size. Now, the vision is not as good as some of the other light tanks. We're going to compare, after this game, we'll compare the ELC EVEN 90 with some other popular tier 8 light tanks, and we'll just see how they compare, and that hopefully will make up your decision as to if you want to spend your hard-earned money. As far as I know, they'll be out on the premium shop the day that this one's released. Now, the good thing about this, because it's so small, the good thing is you're going to see some artillery shells. There's one of them, and of course those artillery shells not hitting, which is a pretty good feeling. And now, artillery drivers are going to probably see this tank, especially if you're stopped or if you're tracked. You're going to be a one bang for some of them, because there's no armor whatsoever on this tank. And we'll go through that when we compare it in the garage to some other tier 8 light tanks. Alright, we're on Mountain Pass. I love this position in Mountain Pass. When it works, it really does work. You can get some cheeky snipey shots into tanks such as that VK100 01P. And if someone like that T49 gets down there, you can get him. But look, you can see how hard it is to aim in this tank. And there's another. That was a small artillery shell. I reckon that might be the GW Panther. There's the T49, and that's what I'm talking about with high explosive. I know the T49 is not an artillery, but that T49 just got us for 356 health with one of its high explosive rounds. No armor whatsoever in this tank. But now, just kicking back in one of my favourite spots here on Mountain Pass, hoping to see something in the middle. I'm surprised not so many tanks have been lit up. Like I mentioned earlier, strong coffee, in my opinion, is a must in this tank. And if you're driving premium tanks to grind credits, maybe that's not ideal for you if you want to run strong coffee. But I reckon you would get the money back especially if you bought them on a 50% discount, simply because yeah, I find it pretty hard to aim without the strong coffee, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem to be such a good aiming tank. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. There we go. This is just money for Jam here. STA2 from behind. Still not looking my way. Thank you very much. 5-2. Obviously, this is another one of those games where I'm getting carried by other players. 873 damage done. The score's 5-2. You could put the house on it. Now, I know that T49 is now dead, the guy who was down here. And look at that artillery. It's a pretty good feeling when you back away from a bush. And as soon as you back away, artillery throws a shell your way. Looking towards the Waffenträger Panzer IV at tier 9. And, of course, that's another tank that doesn't need premium ammunition. Putting 2 shots into it. Hopefully the third one hits. It doesn't. 1327 damage done. Got some assisted damage in that game so far. 476. 938. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, this is looking like a little bit of a better battle. In the ELC EVEN 90, maybe I should keep this replay. And, of course, I think I've already given it away. I think I do die and I exit out. Therefore, not having the replay show up on what replays, but we're still looking pretty good. Now, that waffle, I'm hoping that Waffenträger Panzer IV is still there. Throw a few shells his way and kick back and wait for the reload. The score 5-4 now. 2 friendly tanks have gone down. Artillery asking for vision. The T25-2, he's all by himself on that eastern flank. And I'm thinking, well, if I go back to the eastern flank, even though I'm in a light tank, it's not the fastest light tank in the world by any stretch of the imagination. But we will do a comparison, and hopefully you can make up your mind if you reckon it's worth parting with your hard-earned cash. I think by the time this video comes out, there'll be some other videos come out as well, and I'm predicting most people aren't going to like it, but I'm hoping to point out some good points of this tank, as well as some obvious flaws. Not sure if it's going to get any kind of buff anytime soon. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get a shot into the Waffenträger Panzer IV. The score's 8-6. Going forward thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind getting rid of this tier 9 German TD. Move forward. It's aiming. Now, he's just fired. We just saw that. He's just fired, so I take my time to aim. Bounce the back of that tier 9 German TD. Think, oh, geez, what am I going to do? Looking at the mini-map, you can see, well, I think we've got the numbers up here now, but this Tiger 2 doing an epic job holding off the low. And the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger. 1,535 damage done, 936 assisted damage. Looking towards the Rheinmetall Borsig. Now, that Tiger 2 is on pretty low hit points. I've just been spotted. And you know what I'm going to do. You know I'm looking at the Rheinmetall thinking this guy's going to be easy. But no. Unfortunately, he blows me away. I really did stuff that one up. There's no argument about that one. Certainly stuffed the hell out of that one. It looks good when it's on fire anyway. Bouncing around the remainder of the tanks. Hoping that they're going to carry it for me. And I'm looking at the minimap thinking everybody's back at the spawn. Let's hope they can carry this battle for me. Now, then, as you can see there, that's where I have pretty much just gone back to the garage to fight another day. I'm pretty sure it was early in the morning too, so I might have been a little bit sleepy. But we're going to go jump into my World of Tanks client and try and get a comparison on some other tier 8 vehicles, that common tanks that you might want to compare it to. Now, that game, even though we don't have the result, it was a similar result profitability-wise. Maybe a little bit better. Maybe I was running a booster pack. I'm not really too sure. But, 1,500, I think I got a fire for effect. And I think I got a second-class mastery badge in that game. Or maybe a third. Who can tell? But we'll move back. We'll move into the garage and compare tanks, compare some tanks. Now, the tanks I've chosen to compare it with are the ELC EVEN 90, of course, the other tier 8 French light tank, and of course the M4190 Grand Final tank, which is currently, I don't think there's apart from the T92. Maybe I should compare the T92 as well, if that's in there. Let's have a look. Tier 8 American light tank. Let's add the T92 to that. Now, if you have a look at comparing these tanks, it sort of stands out a little bit. The ELC EVEN 90 is not that competitive, especially with the M4190 Grand Final tank. But of course, the M4190 Grand Final tank, that came out when Tier 8 was the top tier for light tanks. And of course, Wargaming can't nerf it. We'll just, for the statistical reasons, we'll just put a few things on the T92, just so we're comparing apples with apples. Firepower 172. That's the score that Wargaming give for the comparison in the garage. Now, I think what I'll do here is move my beautiful face over here. That probably looks a little bit better. Firepower. They've given it a score, and of course this score takes into account penetration, damage per minute, all that kind of stuff, aim time, and it stands out as pretty much the worst out of these 4 tanks for firepower. 341 for the M4190, but having said that, the M4190 did come out when Tier 8 light tanks were the top of the tier, and all of the other Tier 8 light tanks, apart from the Chinese, got promoted to Tier 9, so, and that had to be competitive with that, so that's pretty anemic. But the Batchat 12T, that came out when after that happened, and that score on just under 300 stands out. Same as with the T92, and you can see why. Damage per shot isn't too bad at 220 compared to the Batchat 12T 170, which I've probably got the haven't got. Oh no, I've got the best. I've got the best gun on it. But look at that, 220 for the ELC EVEN 90, which isn't too bad. 170 for the 12T, 240 for the M4190 Grand Final tank. And now that's not an autoloader, it's got the highest alpha damage, and the T92 at 150. Penetration is best with the Batchat 12T, 180 with the M4190, 175 with the ELC. Rate of fire it's vastly different, but of course it is an autoloader, so autoloaders are treated a little bit differently. But look at the magazine, even if you just compare it to the Batchat 12T, it's 27 seconds to reload for 3 shells and 2.5 seconds between shells. And this is what I'm talking about with the running strong coffee. 27.5 second reload for the magazine, compared to 18 seconds for the Batchat 12T. And 2.5 between shots compared to 2 with the Batchat 12T. And the ELC EVEN 90 has 3 shells in its magazine compared with 4 with the Batchat 12T. That is a big difference right there. Even though the alpha damage is a little bit better, it's 50 hit points better for the ELC EVEN 90. That extra 10 seconds on, or 10.5 seconds on the just 10 seconds on the reload, as well as the extra half a second between shots, I think is where it sort of lets itself down a bit. Aim time, the ELC EVEN 90 is the worst out of these 4 tanks, considerably so. 2.6 seconds compared to 2 seconds for the 12T and 1.6 seconds for both the M4190 and the T92. DPM, again, it's really letting itself down. 1217 damage per minute for the ELC EVEN 90 compared to 1701 for the Batchat 12T. Now bear in mind, the Batchat 12T, that came out after all the changes to light tanks, so we're not really saying that is a tank that was around before that. The M4190, no surprise, getting nearly 2400 DPM, but nearly 2200 DPM for the T92. And again, that's another new light tank, so I can't really see why you would buy the ELC EVEN 90 without, I'm not trying to be too mean and nasty towards the tank, but it's not looking too good. Hit points, it's the lowest, but look, it should be the lowest. It's the smallest, so that makes sense to me. It's got no armor whatsoever. Let's not even talk about the armor. Mobility, though, it is the worst in mobility as well, or the second worst going by this, with a score of 797 on the Wargaming's comparison in the garage compared to 788 with the Batchat 12T. Now that will be because it's got engine power is the lowest by a mile. 160 horsepower engine power compared to 400, 500 and 600. That's very, very concerning. Hit points per ton is second worst. Top speed, it's saying 70, which beats the T92, and it also beats the Batchat 12T and is comparable with the M4190. But I just found like you always felt like you were driving up a hill. That's probably the simplest way of putting putting it. And Camo Rating, I would have thought the Camo, I think this might be flawed. I think the Camo Rating, it felt a lot better. This might be an error in the in-game comparison. The Camo Rating saying that it's miles worse than anything else. I really think that is flawed, because I did feel one of the positives about the ELC EVEN 90 is I felt like I was driving around in an invisible tank. There's no other word for it. Even before I put the strong coffee on it, and if that's something that you like to do. So I try not to sound too negative about it. Okay, let's point out the positive. It feels invisible. I firmly believe this is wrong. The Camo Rating of the ELC EVEN 90 would be better than the M4190, but this is showing it to be not just a little bit worse, a hell of a lot worse, at 22.12, or maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Who knows? It's showing the Batchat 12.2 to be the best, which is probably correct, followed by the T92, which would also be correct, and then the M4190. I don't believe that the ELC EVEN 90 has a concealment rating of so much worse than those other three tanks. View range is, again, on the low side, 445 compared to 465, 469, and 469. But because if assuming this concealment rate is incorrect in game, and your concealment rate is so much better, then it'll allow you to get a hell of a lot closer, I guess, to spot tanks. I didn't have any trouble spotting tanks, and I'm a genuine noob. I'm not going to pretend I'm a unicum or anything like that. I think an average player is a very generous way to describe my tanking ability. But this tank, I had some fun with it. I think if I go back to the garage, if I look at the statistics of the tank, look, 59%. Win rate for me is pretty good, but let's be frank. I think it is a lot of that was luck. I'm not saying win rate is luck, and I'm running around with the AMX 13105 crew. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. It's a tank. Look, I enjoyed playing it, but if you want to look at it as a competitive tank, I very much doubt it would ever be used in a tier 10, tier 8 clan wars or skirmish. But for good times, if you're a tank collector, absolutely. If you love your French tanks, I'd buy it as well, because it does fit perfectly. It fits that crew from the AMX 13105 in it absolutely perfectly, and that's a positive thing for any premium tank, in my opinion. I don't know how it's going to go making credits. You can see those two games, I made about 70,000 credits after tax with a premium account without boosters running, but of course the Christmas special was on. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Is it something you're going to buy? I can't see anything which makes me want to buy that compared to the M4190, which is the other tier 9 premium tank Tier 9 premium light tank that I own. I didn't buy the T92, and I had very limited amount of time to test it, but it doesn't even look as good as the T92, which generally got pretty negative reviews. Please let me know down below, is it something you're going to buy? What do you think they should do? I personally think Wargaming should probably give a little bit of a buff to the rate of fire, whether it's throw an extra shell in the clip, lower the time to load the whole magazine, or the time between shots. That's probably what, and maybe a little bit of an aim buff, and I think that would probably be enough. I mean, it's small. It shouldn't be able to go. How fast should it be able to go? I believe it's based on a real tank. Who knows? Let us know in the comments below. What do you think? And hopefully I'll still have this tank in my garage, and I'll be able to stream a little bit of it later on. Once again, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope to see you on Twitch. Click down below and let us know what you think about this tank. Take care, and see you all next time.